A woman desires love and goes to any length just to get this love. After so many years of job hunting, Nkechi lands a job as a cleaner in a hotel. She doesn't hesitate to change it for anyone who tries to order her around the hotel because, of course, according to her, she's the queen of bad characters in her village. On her first day as a cleaner, one of her co-workers tries to steal a $100 note that fell out of the pocket of the customer, but Nkechi calls him out before he can run off with it and threatens to report him to the manager if he keeps lying about the ownership of the money and dragging things with her. On the other side, there is Aviva, who wants her boyfriend, Gideon, to give her 6 million naira so she can enhance her body for him. But because he refuses, she goes ahead to buy fake bombs that she can wear under her clothes. Mr. Boyfriend is pissed that she doesn't like herself the way she is and would rather rock a silicone bomb rather than a real bomb. After back and forths, where he tells her he has no money to give her for surgery, he angrily leaves the kitchen. On the way to the kitchen, he meets a used plate on the armchair that Aviva left instead of taking it to the kitchen. On getting to the kitchen, he meets a sore sight. Aviva has left everything scattered with leftover ingredients she used to cook here and there. Angry, he calls out for her. When she comes and he lashes out at her for being so clumsy and all, Aviva says she was applying her makeup and that if he doesn't like her clumsiness, he has the option of getting a maid. He tells her to be herself and stop depending on makeup as he can barely recognize her without makeup. Furthermore, he says he has gotten her more than enough housemates and cannot get her more. Least, she frustrates them away. Aviva storms out of the kitchen, he gets a call and he has to leave. At his friends, Gideon laments about how his woman is frustrating him with her 6 million naira request for BBL. His friend is surprised. 6 million naira for Nyashke. Very laughable. Not even when he is seeking 150 million naira loan from the bank for business purposes. One babe is now asking for 6 million naira for Nyash. Mr. Boyfriend says he's done with their relationship as he can no longer deal. His friend, however, advises that he faces his problems head on. After all, Aviva is his fiancée. Fiancé, they play. Uncle says he doesn't see her as his fiancée, and in fact, the only reason he's with her is because she helped him with a connection to her brother's boss. Despite encouragement from his friend not to run from his problems, Gideon says he is running faster than Usain Bolt and that Aviva will not be able to catch him. Energy! Nkechi, on the other hand, is so pleased with her job and even more pleased with her friend, Ada, who helped her secure the job. Nkechi says she cannot begin to thank Ada enough and God just has to bless her. Ada says, what are friends for? Nkechi is more than welcome. Ada, however, advises Nkechi to be smart as this is Lagos. A customer comes to book a standard room and after all the processes, Ada promises an extra service offer with her body. The customer accepts the proposal. Aviva's friend, Bisola, comes to visit. She just underwent a body enhancement surgery and Aviva cannot stop gushing over her friend's body. After gushing, Bisola asks whether Aviva is gearing up for her surgery too, but she says Gideon has refused to give her ordinary 6 million naira for surgery. Her friend says it's too bad as her boyfriend gave her 10 million naira and still flew her to the surgeon. Bisola reminds her that she's the only one left of their friends to get a BBL done. Bisola then proceeds to ask for food and Aviva says she doesn't cook but can get her drinks and snacks instead. Bisola says she's not a good wife material and that she wants a place in her husband's home. Aviva says it isn't by cooking and they both laugh it off. Ada, on the other hand, has just finished satisfying her customer and hurriedly returns to her reception stand where Nkechi is holding a brief for her. Ada thanks her and Nkechi is surprised that she's doing two businesses at the same time. In Nkechi's words, the two businesses are Olosho and receptionist work. Ada tries to shush her up, telling her salary alone cannot foot her bills, hence the extra job. Nkechi shakes her head and says she's learning. Aviva is not letting Gideon breathe because he has refused to give her money for BBL. Gideon says she is after his life and is sucking him dry. He spent 7 million naira on her online business that nothing came out of. Roofed her parents' house in the village and currently placed her on a monthly salary of 700,000 naira. Therefore, he won't hear anything about giving her money for BBL and she shouldn't bother to look good for him. Aviva threatens to not give him peace in the home without the money and Gideon says it is not new as she has never given him peace in the first place. He leaves the house for her. Gideon and his friend head over to the hotel where Nkechi and Ada work. They both book a standard room. Nkechi is cleaning the room when Gideon and his friend get to the room. Gideon says he doesn't mind Nkechi cleaning while he just rests because he's frustrated and just wants peace of mind. While Nkechi cleans the bathroom, she overhears Gideon and his friend discussing how Gideon spent 8 million naira on his woman's online business, roofed her parents' house and still placed her on his salary. Gideon says he just wants a woman with natural qualities and peace too. Nkechi cannot help but wish she had such an opportunity because she's the exact description of what Gideon wants. She devises a plan to get in touch with Gideon and asks Ada to sit back and watch her hatch her plan. Nkechi goes to Gideon's house in Ikoyi. He forgot his purse containing dollars at the hotel and she goes to return it. Gideon is surprised that they are still good people and resultantly offers her money which she declines. Upon Gideon's insistence to pay for her troubles, Nkechi says she wants a job instead as she can cook, clean and wash very well. Aviva immediately says she's hired since she can cook and clean well. Gideon has no choice but to hire her. He says he'd put her on a salary of 100,000 naira and Aviva suggests that he makes it 20,000 naira instead. Nkechi is beyond grateful. Aviva leads her to the kitchen where she is to cook cook them something. She cooks a masterpiece, and Aviva and her man are beyond pleased and impressed. She gets a room in the house, and in the night, she sneaks up on Aviva and Gideon, cuddling each other in bed, fast asleep. She remarks how Aviva is holding tight to her future husband with her fake hands. She says Aviva's time is coming to an end soon, and then she leaves. The next day, she goes to Gideon's room as he dresses for work and asks if he called her. He says he didn't, and she offers to make him another food other than the one she prepared, even if she's the food. She's so insistent on doing something for Gideon that he asks her to say that he is fine and needs nothing. The next day, Nkechi dresses in a way that shows her curves and bids Gideon goodbye as he leaves for work. On seeing that he's about to return, she lies seductively on the armchair, pretending to have slept off. He comes and wakes her up, telling her to dress more appropriately. She's disappointed that he didn't grab her from behind like she expected. Ada comes visiting, and Nkechi laments about how hard it has been to get Gideon. Ada warns Nkechi to be careful as Aviva has a temper. Nkechi says she has even better plans and that Ada should just watch. The next day, Aviva has to leave for a party as her friend Bisola comes to call her. Bisola leaves because Aviva is not dressed and takes long hours to dress. Aviva is about to dress when she suddenly cannot find her silicone bomb. She calls out to Nkechi to look for it for her, but Nkechi is of no help as she keeps mentioning that her madam's fake nyash is missing. Even when Gideon comes in, she tells him that Aviva's fake nyash is missing. Gideon laughs and says it is none of his business. He leaves for the sitting room. In the sitting room, Nkechi goes to meet him to poison his mind against giving Aviva the money she wants. She says a woman that wants to do fake ass is not just doing it for her man, but for other men. She commends Gideon for not giving in to her demands and asks him to stand his ground. But upstairs, Nkechi asks Aviva to stand her ground and keep pestering Gideon for the money for surgery, because a man who loves his woman will not hesitate to give her whatever she asks for. She praises Aviva's beauty and says she's so perfect, but what remains is just the fake bomb. Aviva's head swells. Nkechi insinuates that Gideon took the fake nyash and she should ask him. Aviva tells her it is called synthetic pad, and then she goes downstairs to accuse Gideon of taking her synthetic pads. And like that, Nkechi, the master planner, succeeds in setting them at loggerheads. Aviva misses the party and Bisola returns to console her. Nkechi comes to give Aviva one more piece of advice and says the reason Gideon is treating her the way he is because of sea finish. Nkechi advises that she leave the house and go on a travel instead of staying indoors all day and being easily accessible to Gideon. Although Aviva is offended by the advice from an ordinary maid, Bisola sees reason with Nkechi and asks her to do as the maid has advised, so Gideon can at least miss her for a bit. While Aviva leaves to get her load, Bisola keeps telling herself she feels she knows Nkechi from somewhere, and she just finds out from where she knows her. After Aviva leaves and Gideon is brooding, Nkechi tells him not to worry, as one can barely satisfy the wrong person. She assures him that she's here for him. The next day, Gideon's friend comes home with him and notices how his house is sparkling and neat. Gideon says it is the work of Nkechi, his housemaid. Then and there, she comes to give both men a drink, and his friend cannot stop admiring her physique. She cooks them a delicious meal, and both men are impressed. Nkechi comes to ask if both men are enjoying their meal, and Gideon's friend Leo sharply says yes, so he's enjoying the meal. It is so good. He wants more, and he even wants fish. Gideon says she's talking to him, the boss, and he should be allowed to talk. But Leo says Nkechi is talking to him and that she even likes him. When they start arguing about who she is referring to, Nkechi excuses herself. Gideon asks that Leo stops looking at her like that and that he will soon have to stop coming to his house. Leo says it is a lie as Gideon cannot live without him. Nkechi is happy with the latest development. Aviva, on the other hand, hopes she isn't overdoing the whole staying away thingy, but Bisola assures her that she isn't. Nkechi, on the other hand, consistently tends to Gideon's needs, picks clothes for him to wear, and even prays for him before he leaves for work. He gets back from work with a package for her because her prayers for him worked and his pitch was accepted. She says that's just the beginning. Aviva, on the other hand, is worried for 4 weeks after she left Gideon's house. He hasn't called her or gone looking for her. Bisola says to give him 2 more weeks while she takes more videos and photos to prepare him. Gideon is starting to get free with Nkechi. He even offers to help her in the kitchen, and she, on the other hand, starts helping him to dress up and all. From dressing up, there is a form of attraction and she kisses him. What is brewing? Oh, Nkechi takes her master plan to an even higher level. Gideon and his friend are settled in the living room when she announces her plan to change Gideon's diet so he consumes more vegetables and a more balanced diet. Gideon and Leo are impressed. Gideon and Nkechi become closer and he catches himself being attracted to her whenever she dresses up because of her shape. Aviva is waiting for Bisola on the bed one evening when Bisola's phone suddenly rings. He has called to warn Bisola to show up after selling their family land to do BBL and absconding. Selling their family land? Aviva is shocked. So you mean to say that the boyfriend Bisola was talking about is imaginary? What a wow. Bisola returns and Aviva puts it to her that she's a liar and made made her leave her boyfriend's house, and now for 3 months, he hasn't called her. Bisola says since she knew leaving wasn't the best option, why didn't she stay? Who forced her? Aviva says she's doomed. The relationship between Nkechi and Gideon grows every day. Nkechi now has a nickname for Gideon and says she has loved him ever since she set eyes on him at the hotel. She confesses to being the one who hid Aviva's synthetic pads and the one who advised her to leave. Gideon laughs and says Aviva was such a fool for heeding Nkechi's advice. He says he wants something deeper with her. He asks that they start dating, and Nkechi is beyond elated. Once she leaves his room, she calls Ada to share the good news. Ada is happy that her friend is finally finding happiness despite being married off at 14 and birthing a child at 18. She says, last, God didn't write Nkechi off. Aviva returns to Gideon's house but meets resistance from Nkechi, who says Aviva no longer has a place in his house because she's now the madam of the house. Aviva doesn't believe it until she enters the house to see that truly things have changed. She throws Nkechi's load out of Gideon's house, and he in turn throws her load out before ordering her to return Nkechi's luggage. Aviva returns to Bisola's house and is surprised to see her face swollen from Nkechi's beatings. Bisola suddenly remembers where she knows Nkechi from and says Aviva shouldn't worry, that they can sort it out. Nkechi discovers she's pregnant, and just as she goes downstairs to break the news to Gideon, he proposes to her. She agrees to marry him, and just then Bisola and Aviva storm in and expose that Nkechi was once married to a brother of Bisola's friend, and as a matter of fact, is still married to him. Gideon is mad at her. He's mad at everyone. He orders Bisola and Aviva out of his house. The next day, he's lamenting to Leo how he thought Nkechi loved him. Nkechi, who hears him as she comes downstairs, says she truly loves him but couldn't bring herself to tell him the truth because she was scared of losing him. She confesses she got married upon her mother's death because she had no one